Welcome, welcome, everybody. We're so glad you're here. Just making sure everybody is in from the weight room, and then we'll start with a couple of announcements, and then Liz will be underway.
Wonderful.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. I just wanted to welcome you all to part two. We're so happy that you guys could join us. And there's a couple people coming in from the waiting room, so I'll keep letting them in. Thank you all for joining. If you all could put your names and programs in the chat box, that would be great for attendance purposes. If you are joining from an iPhone or a device, iPad, that does not have your name in your Zoom, please put your email in the chat as well. That would be super appreciated. Um, and then if you have any questions throughout the session, please put that in the chat box as well. We'll also have an opportunity at the end for you to come off of mute and ask the questions as well. And in regards to mute, we would appreciate that you stay on mute throughout the presentation itself. We are recording this, and you will be receiving a follow-up email within the next few days with the recording, a brief feedback survey, a training certificate, and yeah, anything else that you might need. So if you have any questions, again, feel free to reach out to me privately on the chat or put it in the chat box itself, and I will let Liz start. Thank you so much for joining us, Liz.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And I am so glad many of you could come back for part two. To combine 8 presentations into 8 1-hour presentations into one hour was biting off more than I could do, because I stayed committed to my usual format, which is I give you I address body, mind, and spirit. I give you biology, research and science, and then practical application. And the part one, I discussed protein needs and fats. What are the best kind to eat? Those two, historically, we did not tell people they needed to eat enough protein, and I gave information on how can you calculate it. And I'll give you the bottom line. Your hand. The palm of your hand would be the minimum protein for a meal, and the whole hand is usually good enough. Most women, it's 3 to 4 ounces. The palm of your hand is like a deck of cards. That's three. For men, it's about 4 to 6 ounces, sometimes eight, and even higher. Anyone who is bodybuilding, it's even higher. So I went into that. Fats, the bottom line was every real natural source of fat is healthy. Artificial was the big problem. And the artificial king was the trans fat, the margarine we were told to eat. So we went away from butter, lard to margarine, and the trans fat margarine turned out even early on to be exposed as causing inflammation. Reason: we changed what it looks like as a molecule. And when your body sees something strange, the white blood cells try to kill it. And white blood cells attacking something is otherwise known as inflammation. And if you ate a lot of margarine and not many natural fats, which you were told not to do, especially from meats, we went to fat-free everything. Fat-free salad dressings took the fat out of the fat-free salad dressings were high in carb. Took the fat out of our milk products, our cheese. You were told to try to eat meat with almost no fat on it. Well, fat-soluble vitamins are, of course, in fat. Essential fatty acids, essential means you can only get it from your food, is, of course, in fat. So what we did was we started making people malnourished. And a lot of this caused a lot of hunger. And when you eat a lot of carbs, you get hungry. And that is where I am going to pick up today. So I'll bring up the screen share. Hold on. Okay. So here's the presentation. This is the original outline that I started with. We I started by saying know the intent for which you eat, because even when you say grace before you start, thank you, God, for this food. May it nourish our body and that of those eating with me. Literally, your intent is to be healthy. So it's very hard to pick complete trash when you want to be healthy. So it's important to know your intent for eating, okay? To lose weight, to correct some malady that you have, to control diabetes. Okay, I talked about the benefit of whole food, real food. Natural food. The more natural, the better. I talked about protein and fats, and today we're picking up right here on carbs. Okay. So carbohydrates, so what are the important things about carbs? Buffer them, which you're going to learn what that is. Slow down their absorption. Get enough fiber in. You're going to find out why and what are the benefits of fiber. And fermented food. Why is that so important? In other words, today is about gut health. The carbs you choose have a lot to do with the health of your gut. The health of your gut has a lot to do with your immune function and your brain. So we are very interconnected. Okay, this is the original, the last food pyramid, where you were getting recommended like eat mostly grains. See, that's the biggest one. Then eat vegetables, but our vegetables really weren't mostly green. They were mostly corn and potatoes. So this should have been yellow and white. Then you can have fruit. So we've already got a lot of sections that have more carbs, especially the fruit and the grain. You can do milk, cheese, but they want you to do fat-free. And this is all it gave you for meat and beans. Your primary sources of protein. That's all they gave you. And eggs would fit in here. So there is no mystery that we started getting hungry. We simply didn't get enough. This is the new food pyramid, which I'm going to go into more detail towards the end, tying it together. The beauty of it is, one, they turned it upside down. The old food pyramid, this one is sort of little sections. They actually had, if you get it this way, the carbs was the wide section on the bottom, and then came your veggies and fruit, and then meat and proteins and fats were up here. So they moved up. Meats, you notice it's whole cheese, whole milk, eggs, and vegetables are all high up. And there's a few fruits like the tomato, which is a fruit, pear, fruit. So what did they tell you to start with? Eat whole and natural, real food. That was the main message, eat real food. So where are the carbs? This was the biggest section. Oh, they're down here. Okay, the grains, they're way down here. But even the grains in this pyramid are real. It's real oatmeal. It's bread made like sourdough is one of your best. They didn't tell you to go buy processed things. They told you eat real grains. Okay, and here's oatmeal that's even a little higher. And then we got a little more fruit down here. But the main thing is it's sort of mixed together. And vegetables and meat end up both up high. Why? Because you need both. You need both. And you need multiple colored fruits and vegetables. The color is the phytochemical. The phytochemicals are anti-inflammatory, good for your immune system. And I'll go into an overview of what they do. But the main message here is colorful and very important. There really are people who are natural vegetarians. There really are people who are natural meat eaters. My husband and I were the perfect of both. He was more of a vegetarian, I was a meat eater. We both ate healthy, we both ate a variety. Okay, so I'd go with him to a vegetarian restaurant. 20 minutes later, I'd look at him and say, Steve, I got to eat. Because the vegetables didn't stick with me. On the other hand, if he went to a steak place with me, he always had a smaller thing than I ordered. He would be bloated the rest of the day. He was simply not comfortable eating more meat. He could do some chicken, some fish, but his stomach didn't tolerate higher portions of meat. So we both learned. He was the head of a science department, biology. We both learned people are different because I was healthy with what I was doing and he was healthy with what he was doing. So it was eye-opening. And this food pyramid doesn't tell you what you're supposed to be. It tells you if you're more of a vegetarian, go for it. It also tells you if you need meats, go for it. You got to feel full and content. And how you feel after you eat really dictates it. So this food is whole natural, whole gut restored, and the things that are mostly carbs way at the bottom. And you're going to find out today why that's important. When we think of carbs, many of us think of this. Okay, you think of pastries, you think of the starchier vegetables. That's what you think of. Well, this is also carbs. This is your whole natural vegetables that actually have more fiber and fruits that you need. So, fiber. Two types of fiber. Soluble dissolves in water. Insoluble doesn't dissolve in water. Soluble fiber, grains, the inside of vegetables that are pulpy, like broccoli, asparagus, that's soluble fiber. Apple, the inside is soluble, the outside is not soluble. The outside of every plant is not soluble fiber. Why? If it was soluble, it would dissolve in nature when it rains. It doesn't dissolve when it rains. So the outside does not dissolve in water. That's a good way to separate them. So, what does soluble fiber do? As it gets through your gut, it actually traps fat, cholesterol, and sugar. Whoa, traps it. So you actually don't absorb all of it into your bloodstream. What else am I telling you about soluble fiber? In order to have it trap your carbs, some of the sugar, the cholesterol, and fat, you have to eat it at the same time as you eat the meat. Has to be at the same time. So if you're doing psyllium is the big soluble fiber, really good for lowering cholesterol. It doesn't work if you take fiber by itself as a snack. You can't do the Metamucil in water and think you're lowering cholesterol. You have to drink it or eat it when you're doing the meat that has the fat. Does that make sense? Also, when you eat something fatty like nuts, cheese, your gallbladder squirts bile into your gut. Bile is largely made of cholesterol. So, fiber, soluble fiber, psyllium husk, Metamucil is largely psyllium. Um, Broccoli, asparagus, it's got the pulpy center. It's actually trapping some of the cholesterol in the meat you're eating. So, eating out, it is very common to get broccoli as a side, asparagus with your meat. That's a good idea. You're trapping cholesterol. So, soluble fiber only traps cholesterol when you eat it at the same time or drink it at the same time, like Metamucil. Insoluble cleans house, it moves everything along. Soluble normalizes. If you have diarrhea and you do soluble fiber, it'll make it a little more bulky. If you're constipated and you do soluble fiber, it'll make it softer. It brings you to normal. That's the best way to say it, which is why Metamucil is a good fiber to take. Okay, and insoluble cleans house. That's important. Now, sugar. When you're eating carbs, the carb gets into your blood. At the end of the first half, Terry asked me to repeat how you buffer carbs and stuff, which was important, but that would have only come under question answer. So here's the bottom line. When your gut can only absorb so many nutrients at one time, if you eat carbs by themselves, whoop, all the carbs get into your blood sugar goes way up. If you eat, so you eat an apple by itself, blood sugar goes way up. Now you eat some meat or cheese and the apple, same amount of apple. The protein and the fat from the meat and cheese are getting absorbed, and the apple only a little bit at a time. So your blood sugar never gets that high. The total carb will eventually be absorbed, but never in one big bunch. So your pancreas can easily keep up with the amount of carbs getting in your blood. That's called buffering carbs. You buffer slow the carb absorption by eating it with protein or fat. It could be nuts, cheese, meat, but it'll slow it down. And that's the way to do it. So if you if you have diabetes and you want to eat an orange, you would eat it with your meat or right after. You would not eat the orange first because there's nothing else in your gut. So if you ate the orange first, blood sugars are again through the roof. So people with diabetes learn how to buffer their carbs. Now, here is beta cell function. The beta cells in the pancreas make insulin, okay? So here is how hard your pancreas is working to keep your blood sugar normal. This is very important. This is about 10 years. So, this is diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. So, your pancreas has been having a hard time keeping up with all the sugar you're eating. And the sugar you're eating, you made things fat-free, so you lost the fat to buffer the carb, and you substituted a carb, like if it's a fat-free salad dressing, it's usually sugar water. So now you got even more sugar coming into your meal, and you stopped adding things that would have slowed down the carb absorption. Even diabetics are told to go low fat. Wrong. You need to buffer the carb. Okay, so the carbs are getting in your blood. The pancreas is making more and more insulin, and it's able to keep your blood sugar normal. You think you're fine, but you're not. The pancreas is overworking. As you gain weight, visceral fat, fat inside your abdomen, creates insulin resistance. So now the insulin you're making doesn't even work as well. Your body's blocking it. So now, as you're eating sugar, you got to make more insulin to break through the insulin resistance. So, overweight, obese, you're getting more visceral fat. It's slowing down how effective the insulin is. So now your pancreas has to work harder. So the beta cells are dying off. They're overworking, they're dying off. So then there comes a point where the pancreas can't keep up with you anymore. So now your blood sugar starts going up. This is 10 years into the game. And by the time you're diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, about half your beta cells are dead. That's a problem. But it's not a big problem. Find out early, control, buffer your carbs, and the other half of the beta cells are usually enough to last you a lifetime if you take care of them. This is the pancreas. That's a pancreas. That's the cross section. And these are blue things are nice, healthy beta cells. Well, you've been beating them up. They've been working their little buns off. They died. This is type 1 diabetes. Most of the beta cells are dead. If only 50% are gone, it's called type 2. Okay. Hemoglobin A1C this is the heaviest biology you're going to get in today's talk. This is the big biology you needed to understand how sugar and carbs impact your body. Prevent diabetes if you figure this out. Okay, hemoglobin A1C tells you how many sugar molecules, it's actually hemolyzed, but that's besides the point, are attached to your red blood cells. They actually count them. A machine counts them. Okay, 6.5 is where you actually have diabetes. When your hemoglobin A1C is 6, which was considered normal, your average blood sugar in a day is 135. Okay, you'd rather have it around 70 to 110. So now we're shooting for 5.6, and actually 5.1 is considered you walk on water. Okay, so diabetes is diagnosed at 6.5. So here we have diabetes. Now, the more of these sugar crystals are on your red blood cells. Your red blood cells are traveling through your blood vessels to give you oxygen. Well, when it gets through your capillaries, the teeny tiny blood vessels, this is like a Brillo pad. That's why diabetics are more prone to eye injuries and kidney. You're ripping the capillaries. You do not want a high hemoglobin A1C. Picture Brillo pads going through your blood vessels. Every 3 months, you get all new red blood cells, 3 to 4, so you can recheck the A1C if you've been eating, buffering your carbs, eating less carbs, and you'll see how much you improved. Right? But I want you to understand high hemoglobin A1C is a lot of bumps on your red blood cells. You're damaging your capillaries. These bumps, by the way, are also lining your blood vessels. So even though you get all new red blood cells in about 3 to 4 months, you're not getting a whole new lining of blood vessels. That takes longer to regenerate. So you got bumps. So you don't want to eat a lot of carbs. Okay. All at once, unless you buffer it and you don't want to eat a whole bunch of carbs. This is how we used to eat. Then we were told to eat like this, all carbs. And margarine, the most inflammatory fat. Oh, and inflammation is what causes heart disease. Inflammation, you get more free radicals. The LDL cholesterol is used to build and repair a blood vessel. Well, it gets oxidized, and then when it gets pulled into your blood vessel to repair it, to build it, the white blood cells attack it because it looks different. That is the mechanism by which inflammation causes heart disease. It never was just the cholesterol number. It was oxidized cholesterol, which goes up with inflammation. So this type of food also caused more inflammation, and I'll go through that. Okay, so everything we said almost back in 77 was actually not only wrong, that it didn't help prevent heart disease, it made diabetes and inflammation go through the roof, and hunger and obesity. Sprouts. Sprouts are a great fiber source vegetable, which is a carb. Remember, fiber are carbs. So sprouts have a gram of protein, a gram of fiber. All the carbs are in the form of fiber and only 8 calories. So sprouts, and they're nutrient dense. A seed has the potential to make a whole plant. So when the seed sprouts, the genes are activated and it starts manufacturing high concentrations of vitamins, minerals, protein, whatever that plant needs to grow. So a sprout is amazingly nutritious with your phytochemicals and vitamins, minerals, and it is not um, a high source carb. It is so good, so good. Chia seeds, flax seeds are two excellent, excellent seeds to get a regular part of your diet. You could put a tablespoon in with like a protein shake. You can sprinkle it on your vegetables. Chia seeds will puff up like tapioca if you've never had chia seeds. So I do have a recipe to make chia seed pudding. It's 3 tablespoons of chia seed, 1 tablespoon of 1 cup of almond milk, a teaspoon of Vietnamese cinnamon, which is a healthier cinnamon, and a half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. So you just stir it together, and then it takes the chia seeds a few minutes to start puffing. Keep stirring gently. Put it in the fridge for 10 minutes, bring it out, and then stir it again because they'll clump. But that's when you can sort of break them apart, and then it'll stay in a pudding format. But it can it'll grow up to 9 times its size. But it's a good pudding. Okay. Chia seeds are in the book Born to Run. If you like to listen to books on tape, it's a good one. It's about 100-mile race that goes through like the Grand Canyons that Indians and athletes ran. And the Indians had a seed that they would live on in the canyons. And through the whole book, I'm waiting to hear what the seed is. It's the chia seed. It was considered their sacred seed. And when you see the protein, the fats, it's got omega-3s, the vitamins, I can see that this would be something they could live on for an extended period of time. Okay, so what are we made of? We are 10% of all the cells in and on our body are human cells. 90% of all the cells in and on our body are microbial. And before that freaks you out completely, where do the microbes live? In your gut, mostly in the large intestine. And the gut, technically, from your mouth to your anus is a tube. So are most of the bacteria actually floating around in you? Not at all. They're contained in your gut. We need a lot of, like billions of bacteria in our gut. Over the decades, with bad eating, we've gotten more processed, fibery grains. We lost a lot of fiber. We kept more of the sugar. And so we started eating more sugar. So let's look at what happens here. Sugar-loving bacteria grow when you eat more sugar. Fiber-loving bacteria grow when you eat whole natural fruits and vegetables. Well, we started eating processed like crazy with high carb. Remember, low fat was often a high carb substitute. Firmicutes are the bacteria that like sugar. When they are predominant, you increase your body's ability to store sugar as carbs. You you decrease your sensitivity to leptin, which makes you feel less hungry, but you're resistant to it, so now you're hungry. You also get insulin resistance, otherwise known as diabetes. So by changing the bacteria mix, these bacteria make you more prone to insulin resistance, hunger, and storing sugar as fat. Bacteria that eat fiber, whole natural food, you start make those bacteria make a fat called short chain fatty acid. What does short chain fatty acid do? It helps you burn sugar. It doesn't accumulate as fat as easy. It boosts calorie burning and it makes you very sensitive to leptin, which makes you feel full. Okay? It also makes you sensitive to insulin. So when I taught this, I asked my dietitian, I said, I got patients who are never going to eat their vegetables. How are they going to get short chain fatty acid? Because the miracle of fiber is growing fiber loving bacteria, which make short chain fatty acid. That's one of the big benefits. Well, guess where you find these? Fat from grass fed animals, Kerrygold butter, lard, fat from grass-fed animals have the most short chain, but all the animals have some short chain. We told you not to eat butter. We told you to eat margarine, didn't we? We got rid of your extra source of short chain fatty acid. We also told you to go fat free, didn't we? We got rid of your short chain fatty acid. We got more of these, diabetes, obesity through the roof because we changed your gut flora. Isn't that amazing? So, meat eaters can definitely get enough short chain fatty acid by eating butter from grass-fed animals more, and the fat that comes in the milk. Stop throwing it out. Okay, the gut can get inflamed if it doesn't have enough bacteria as a whole. When it gets inflamed, the glue dissolves and little particles of food get into your bloodstream that don't belong there. That creates, next, leaky gut. You don't feel good. Food intolerances. It's not a food allergy yet. You just are sensitive. But remember, those white blood cells are attacking those little particles. Then you get food allergies. Then you get immune problems. And then you get autoimmune conditions like type 1 diabetes, lupus. We have so many inflammatory, rheumatoid arthritis. You get more inflammatory diseases when the gut is leaky. You need enough bacteria. Okay. So, how do you buffer carbs? To summarize that, acid buffers carbs. So a salad dressing with vinegar or lemon, very good for you. Putting lemon in your water when you're eating, it helps buffer carbs. Okay. I already told you protein and fat does. Fiber does. The more processed a grain is, the quicker the sugar gets in. So this is whole wheat with its full fiber. Look how slow the sugar goes up. It actually never peaks like that. Never taxes your pancreas that much. Now you have cracked wheat, coarse wheat, white flour. So the way we handle grains also made you more prone to diabetes. Sugar is getting in fast. Remember, every time a carb gets into your blood fast, it's a whip to your pancreas saying, make insulin. After a while, it can't keep up. Okay, these are fermented foods where you can get good bacteria planted in your gut. The most common is sauerkraut, yogurt, Greek yogurt, get good full fat Greek yogurt. The fat in the yogurt protects the bacteria so it can make it through the acid in your stomach. The sauerkraut needs to be in the refrigerator, not on the counter, because if it's pasteurized, the bacteria are dead. If it's not pasteurized, it has to be in the fridge. So you want non-pasteurized sauerkraut or any fermented vegetable. Full cheeses, they're all fermented. You're getting good amount of fermentation, which plants healthy bacteria in your gut. Phytochemicals are the color. I can't say that any clearer. Um, and you want a variety of colors, just like what you see there. Green is your best phytochemical to detoxify, clean house. It is also very good. This is a free radical that causes oxidative damage, inflammation. Free green antioxidants donate an electron to the free radical, and then this guy is normal. It no longer damages your cells. An example in nature of oxidation is rust. Rust is an example of oxidation damage. Free radicals do oxidative damage in your body. How do you neutralize them? Eat a lot of fruits, vegetables with phytochemicals. They help neutralize. What is one of your best? The green. What else does green have? Green has a natural substance called alpha lipoic acid. It hooks into heavy metals, pollution, mercury, aluminum, hooks into it, and you eliminate it. Your pee will smell like asparagus pee when you use alpha lipoic acid. Anywhere from 2 to 800 is usually a good dose. My people losing weight are on the higher dose because heavy metals are in their fat. When it melts, it gets back in your blood. So I put them on the alpha lipoic acid. Okay. So green, rich in alpha lipoic acid, naturally. These are other antioxidants, vitamin C, E, beta carotene, that would be your orange. I gave you this slide where I tell you the benefits of various colors. Okay. Here's the bottom line. Green cleans house, and it's rich in alpha lipoic acid, which gets rid of heavy metals, gets rid of pollution also. Blue, purple, red, very good for your blood, for vascular serve. When I say vasculature, I'm talking heart, blood vessels, and brain. Men, we used to say in cardiology, die of heart disease, women die of dementia. Same disease later in life because women lived longer. Okay. So blue, red, purple, think vasculature, really good. Also good antioxidant. Tan, white, brown, anti-cancer, which means it's good for your immune system. Okay. Anytime I say good for your immune system, think anti-cancer, think anti-infection because your immune system kills the cancer cells off. Okay, so garlic, onions, mushrooms, that's your big ones here. Very good for your immune system. They also happen to have selenium, some trace minerals, which is good for gut health and anti-cancer. Red again, think blood vessels. Lycopene is high in tomatoes. That is good for eye health. That is one of the few nutrients in a vegetable or fruit, and tomatoes a fruit, that you get more of when you cook the fruit. So, stewed tomatoes, ketchup, you'll get more lycopenes because it becomes released more for you to use it when the tomato has been cooked. Vitamin C, other things are better not cooked. Okay. Beets are a red vegetable I want to talk about. They have an ingredient that they use to make nitric oxide. Nitric oxide dilates your blood vessels. You see the commercial on Super Beets? Well, that's what it is. And it also, Super Beets also have grape seed because the seed of the grape happens to be outstanding for vascular health. So, yes, beets are very good for you. If you don't like beets, you can take super beets. It'll help lower your blood pressure. Nitric oxide dilates blood vessels everywhere. Just very, very good food. Okay. And that beets would be the queen of that. And orange, think beta carotene antioxidant. Okay. So here are pictures. Green in general is a little more bitter. I will purposely eat things in the wild that I know are edible, in places where they don't spray any chemicals, because I know it has nutrients good for me. Dandelion would be one of them, and there's others. I eat wild grapes. I eat wild berries. When you eat wild, it's usually got a little bitter tinge to it. That's a phytochemical that the food industry has gotten out of the seeds because we preferred sweet, right? So I purposely eat wild because I want some of the phytochemicals that have been missing. Organic also generally has more of the original heirloom, more of the original variety of phytochemicals, the color, phytochemics, the color. The darker the color, the more phytochemicals. So these are all great green ones. Lutein, green, also good for your eyes, potent antioxidant. These are your blue and your purple. And yes, red wine is the better of the two than white. The red phytochemicals happens to be good. White wine still has phytochemicals and benefits, but red is what most of the research is toting as good. One glass every now and then, two on the high end is enough. All right. Tan, think anti-cancer. When you're sick, it boosts your immune system. Um, Good for you. So a soup with mushrooms and garlic would be very good for your gut. Okay, bone broth, which I didn't do anything with this talk. I knew I couldn't finish. Well, I really couldn't, could I? Bone broth, actually, you want always organic, but it helps soothe your gut. It makes the mucus in your respiratory tract, nose and lungs, and GI tract runny and good quality. So when we're sick, chicken bone broth. Our moms made us chicken soup. It was always made with bones. So I am not talking Campbell's chicken soup not made with bones. I'm talking you buy bone broth. And it now comes seasoned. You can water it down, but that is antimicrobial and will make the mucus a better quality. Okay, and there's good red ones. Um, Cherries. Cherries have melatonin, which does help you sleep. Cherries are very powerful anti-inflammatory. Here is a research study on cherries which says the quantity they used was about 20 dried cherries. It is the equivalent anti-inflammatory effect like taking a Motrin. That is how wonderfully anti-inflammatory. So this study said in part it helps you sleep because it decreases pain. inflammation while it has the melatonin. So cherry concentrate for people with inflammation is a good thing to get in the habit of doing. 2 tablespoons. It tastes good. Do it in water. I do some cherry extract all the time in my breakfast shake because it's good for you. Okay, so that's enough of that. Um, Eat wild. You get phytochemicals that have since disappeared. When the my talk has an asterisk, it means it's in your handout. I gave you a handout with the vitamins and minerals that are good for your immune system. Vitamin D, zinc, beta carotene, teas, probiotics, vitamin C, selenium, mushrooms, nuts, and vitamin E in your vegetables. Okay, so what should you eat? Bottom line, yes, they were right. Whole and natural, do a variety. How do you know? They said eat real, eat whole, nutrient dense, reduce processed. Processed will release the sugars easier. Remember that scale? How fast the sugar gets in your blood? And eat lower sugar. But when it comes to sweeteners, sugar is not a bad sweetener. By the way, just don't use a lot. Sugar cane is natural. Just don't use a lot. Honey is the best one. As a general rule, little kids should avoid it because of something it carries, but honey in general is a great sweetener, healthy. Get enough protein from either meats and get enough healthy fats, which means dairy, full fat, especially grass-fed, olive oil, avocado, nuts, really good seeds. And then the middle is fruits and vegetables because fruits do have a little more carb. So berries are your best fruits. They have a lot of the color, don't they? Yeah. And at the bottom are your grains. And grains have a good purpose, especially if they're less processed, because you're going to get good fiber. Okay. Um, so we are not all alike. Eat for your own body. How do you know you're doing well? Your muscles are good. You're strong. You're not hungry all the time. You feel satisfied. Um, you are generally healthy. Remember, carbs, the complex are better, whole, natural. They do give you energy, but if you eat too many carbs by themselves, you get mellow and tired. So carbs will make you sleepy. That is why we crave carbs before we go to bed at night if you're up too late. Your body's trying to get you to bed. So no, you're not unique because you crave the carbs before you go to bed. If you're tired, it's going to make you want to go to bed. So if you have to stay up, protein, drink water and protein. Protein makes you alert. Okay. Um, so fat gives you energy, but too much fat makes your stomach feel heavy, bloated, and you feel sluggish, and the blood leaves your head, goes into the gut because it's still digesting. So too much fat's a problem. How much is too much for you? How do you feel? Some of us need more fat than others to feel full. So everything I am telling you is, how do you feel? How are you doing with your weight? How are you doing with your health? If you have diabetes or get hypoglycemic, you can't do a lot of sugar. Hypoglycemia means your pancreas overreacts to carbs. It makes too much insulin in response to carbs. So then you drop. And if you're eating more carbs because you say, I'm hypoglycemic, I have to eat sugar all day. No, you're going to get diabetes. You're going to wear out your pancreas. I was hypoglycemic. I didn't know it. I learned that when I was a nursing student. I figured it out when I was a teenager. If I ate pasta and dessert, I felt terrible. I was spacey. I felt terrible. So I had to eat a hamburger and dessert. I needed the protein to buffer it. I learned how to buffer before I knew what I was doing. In nursing school, I understood the biology of what I was doing. Hypoglycemic people cannot eat carbs by itself. They have to buffer it all the time because if the carb gets into their blood too fast, they'll make too much insulin. That's why you're low. So the low should be responded to with protein in general and just a little bit of carb. Okay. Um, so eat for your own body. And then what did God tell us about eating? Okay. You do not know that your body are temples of the Holy Spirit who is in you, whom you have received from God. You are not your own, you are bought with a price. Therefore, honor God and your body. So, looking good is not vanity. Taking care of your body so your hair, skin, and nails is good. You're a good weight. Your muscles work well. You can be active. You can enjoy your life. You can bend with ease. God's saying, I want you to take care of your body because that's what you're living out of. You're experiencing the blessing of life through the body I gave you. Take care of it. Okay? So, whether you eat or drink, whatever you do, do it for the glory of God. Okay. So keep in mind, take care, he wants you to take care of yourself. Do not join those who drink too much or drink too much wine, or gorge themselves with meat, for drunkards and gluttons become poor, drowsy, um, clothe themselves in rags. Isn't that an interesting statement? God's warning you it's not going to be good for you. It is not good for you to overeat or drink too much alcohol. He's telling you right out. You're going to get drowsy. Too much carbs makes you drowsy. Too much fat makes you sluggish. Isn't that interesting? And then clothed in rags because you're not working. If you find honey, eat just enough. Too much of it and you vomit. Isn't that an interesting statement? We're again being warned just because you like it, eat the right amount for your body. He's telling you, pay attention. Pay attention. Okay, therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, but seek first the kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you. So, what is he telling us there? Live your life, do not make food the center of your universe. Do good things with your life. Food will come. And he also said it'll be provided. What he's telling you is the food I made for you is made for your body. You're a human being made by me. Go more whole food and natural. For everything God created is good, and nothing is to be rejected if it is received with thanksgiving because it is consecrated by the word of God and prayer. In other words, every food has a benefit. Now, if you have an allergy, if you have a peanut allergy, don't eat a peanut. Does that make sense? Allergies went up because of leaky gut. Particles got into people's blood and they became more allergic. That's one of the reasons allergies are through the roof. Leaky gut, we're not eating whole natural food. So what is he saying? Eat whole and natural real food. What he made all has benefit in the right amount for you. In the right amount for you. Anxiety and stress causes abdominal fat. If you're trying to lose weight and you're nervous all the time, and many of these things will say be peaceful. Here it says plan your food. Daniel and his friends requested vegetables and water, not the king's rich food. It was a lot of foods they weren't supposed to eat, pork. And Daniel and his friends were healthier than the people who ate the rich food. Then God said, I give you every seed plant on the face of the earth, the whole earth, every tree, you can eat its fruit and its seeds. In the beginning, we were more vegetarians, by the way. This is Genesis. We were. All right. Later in the Bible, it talks about eating a wide variety of things. We started eating more meats. Okay, and it's fine. The Bible approves of both. If God made it, you can eat it. If man designed it and told you that how God designed milk is not good for you, you should get rid of the milk. Could we all learn something at this stage of the game? It was 1977 when we started the nonsense. We also told you to stop eating eggs, didn't we? Eggs is now touted as one of the superfoods. You know what a superfood is? It's a whole natural food because most real things are dense in something that's really good for you. But eggs are back. The whole egg, and they emphasize the whole egg. Why? The egg yolk has iron, vitamins, minerals. It's important. It's also epigenetically active, which this talk isn't about. It's how we turn the genes on and off in our body. Egg is one of the foods that gives your body almost everything it needs to turn the genes on and off. Go figure. So do fruits and vegetables. I think I did enough. I discipline my body and keep it under control, lest after preaching the others, I myself should be disqualified. What did God give us? Blessings come with eating. Eating is good for us. In due season, with self-control, not excess. God tells us all the time, pay attention. Can you have self-control? Yes. So anyone who says I can't, the answer is, oh yeah, you can. One step at a time. And remember, carbs make you hungry. If you eat a lot of carbs, you make insulin, it drops, now you're hungry. If all you're doing is eating carbs to solve the problem, you will be hungry all day long. What stops the hunger? Protein and fat. There we go. You may know about GLP-1 drugs. They did a study that showed people were losing 38% of their total weight in muscle. Why? They didn't know how to eat. No one was monitoring their food. No one was watching, are they losing muscle? They were losing too much muscle. That's why people's faces collapsed. They looked sick. 60% was fat. Well, I have an in-body machine that measures muscle water and fat. Guess what? My patients lose on average 5% lean body mass. The muscle mass with the water in it, 10%. They lose 85% in fat. If you're guided on how to eat, it is safe to lose weight. There you go. Okay, and stress holds abdominal fat. You have to learn how to breathe, relax. And I gave you a class on relaxation already. And you don't digest food while stressed. Okay. God did not give us anxiety. God gave us courage, love, and a sound mind. We can have our self-control. Okay. That is it. Questions?
Yeah,
I will
well,
un.
thank you so much,
You're welcome.
Liz, for all of this amazing information. Currently, we don't have any questions in the chat, but if you would like to unmute and ask Liz a question, you may, or put your question in the chat.
Okay. I hope I met your needs. I gave you more biology in both parts because for me, when I picture how my body is using something, I am more likely to eat it. I do chia seeds in my morning shake, even though they get stuck in my teeth and I have to floss, because it's good for me. I'm picturing I'm feeding my gut flora and I'm getting more of the fiber loving ones. I consciously, my husband was a science teacher. If you would have heard us eat at the beginning, you'd be laughing. We would talk about we have good quality protein. We would talk about the vegetables and the phytochemicals. It was actually hysterical. And then we enjoy the food, but we would actually comment on how do we do. All right.
Love it. I love it.
Okay. Take care.
Thank you all. Have a great rest of your day. And thank you again, Liz, for all the lovely information.
You're welcome.
This video will be uploaded to YouTube if you would like to watch it at a later date. Thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your
Okay.
Thursday.
Bye bye.
Bye.